The placidity of floats so adjusted is like that of anchored ships. Life has left them. They seem dead on the top of the water. They do not drift. There is no feeling that they may be approaching a fish. All that can be hoped is that down below, on the mud, a fish is approaching them. The fisherman can do no more. A yard or two of line lies on the ground beside his reel. Until that line is drawn out, he must do nothing. He is immobilized, while tremendous events impend. Chained, hand and foot, he waits on destiny. And destiny, rumbling here and there with terrific splashes of golden leviathans, makes havoc of his nerves. He cannot, like the trout fisher, find expression and relief in lengthening his line and casting over a rise. He must steel himself to leave his rod alone, and this enforced inaction in the exciting presence of huge fish visibly splashing produces a sort of drugged madness in the fisherman. I could not keep my hands still, nor could I reply sanely to questions. The true record of the life of an habitual carp fisher would be a book to set beside De Quincey's Confessions of an English Opium Eater, a book of taut nerves, of hallucinations, of a hypnotic state. It's possible to stare afloat into invisibility, of visions Japanese in character, of great blunt-headed golden fish in golden spray curving in the air beside weeping willows. And then the rare moments when this tautness of expectation resolves into a frenzy of action. When at last I hooked one of these fish, I could not keep in touch with him, though I was using a centerpin reel with which, on a split cane salmon rod, I have kept easily in touch with the salmon. It's a big fish, big fish. Again and again he won yards of slack, and yet when he was landed, he was no glass case fish, but quite an ordinary carp, which at the end of the day I put back into the pond. Oh! There he's gone now. For carp fishing, it was a lucky day. 4 times the baits were taken by eels, landed amid anathemas, tempered by the thought of next day's breakfast. 4 times they were taken by carp. 1 fish was landed. Twice the carp shot off with such speed that the reel overran, checked, and gave him warning. On the 4th occasion, one of the monsters made a direct run of 30 yards and then broke me. Oh, hell. There's no question of that. It's going like a steam engine right out into the middle of the lake. Oh, lost. He's gone. I've lost him. No, he didn't break me. Yes, he did. He's gone over the hook. That was. It's an enormous carp. There then occurred an incident which illustrates the uncanny nature of these fish. My float, out in the middle of the pond, turned and sailed slowly in again to my very feet, towed by the monster, who then in some manner freed himself, thus returning me my tackle with a sardonic invitation to try again. No other fish is capable of putting so fine a point on irony. During a winter such as this, ice, snow and floods have kept fishermen at bay, sometimes for weeks on end. You would think that after such a dearth of fishing, when at last you did get a bite, it would bring a glow of joy and gratitude to every fisherman's heart. It's not necessarily so. Towards the end of last week, there seemed to be a promise of better weather for grayling fishing. So, I took down a rod for the first time this year and went to a grayling river with a good supply of cockspurs and brandlings. That was a bite. Several other people had made the same mistake, and there was a decided melancholy in the evenings at the inn. On Saturday, the last of the other fishermen departed. He had caught, in 3 days' fishing, 1 sizable fish. But on the last day, he said, he had hold of something big, which had broken away from him. Said, he thought it might have been a chub. Until that departing fisherman said this, I had forgotten that there were chub in the river. Got a fish? No, I haven't. It is not a regular chub river like the Wyre, and no one visits it with the special object of fishing for chub. Chub, in fact, in the north, do not get the attention they deserve. One would think that in winter the trout fishers would spend a little time in fishing for chub, just as in other rivers they fish in winter for grayling and pike. But the disappointed grayling fisher spoke of that chub with contempt instead of gratitude, though the chub had given the only moment of interest to a melancholy day.
Got a fish. It's a trout, I think.
I felt that he was a little ungrateful to that chub, and thought how odd it was that in different parts of the country the same fish should be so differently esteemed.
I think you're a trout. Bad fishing. Better in the summer, don't you? Go on. Get bigger. Go.
There is, in the South Country on the Thames, an inn of a most pleasing character and with a delightful name. It is called the Rose Revived, and its signboard, painted by a celebrated architect, shows a rose being revived in a glass of sherry. To this inn, in the evening, many fishermen gathered from the roach swims up and down the river. And in the moonlight outside it, I met an old man for whom, without knowing him, I felt already some affection, since he was a living witness that on that day I had caught the biggest trout I had ever caught, and, for a simple reason, had not got that trout to gloat over, or to eat, or to put into a glass case. The old man had been on the opposite bank of the river, and had watched me land this big and wise Thames trout, who, knowing that the season was just over, had risked himself on my roach tackle. It had taken me a long time to cozen him out from under the willow branches, draped with weed by the late floods.
And when I had carefully weighed him, 3 pounds 4 ounces and a little bit over, all the bystanders breathed heavily as I slid him back into the water again.
And now, as if to comfort me for being without my noble trout, he offered me a box of stewed wheat, with which, he said, I should catch gigantic roach.
And then he began talking of the river that the Thames had been, and of how the passion of his life had been neither for trout nor roach, but for chub. told me that he had fished for chub for 35 years and always had set them back for the good of the river, even as I had set back my Thames trout. In the north, a captured chub has a better chance of being thrown over a hedge than of being returned to the water, in which he is considered vermin and nothing more. That old man was not the first I have met who told me of a long life enriched by chub. To remember one is to invite memories of them all.
Many years ago, an old fisherman, knowing that he could fish no more, made me a present of his chub float, a monstrous thing of cork and quill. And as he gave it to me, he told me of this and that old loggerhead who had dragged it underwater. It was almost as if he were the high priest of some heathen religion, and presenting me on his deathbed with the sacrificial knife, and exulting in retrospect on the victims who had felt it.
I remembered this old float and its long-dead owner, and listening to the enthusiasm of the old chub hunter, I thought how strange a passion this is that singles out here a man and there a man and makes of him a fisherman apart, to pursue this nervous, handsome, altogether uneatable fish. I remembered J.W. Martin's story, Chubber Childs, who, after they had been separated for many years, sent Martin a message to say that he was after them yet, knowing that Martin would know exactly what he meant. And then the old chub hunter began to speak of baits for chub, of which there are no end. And he praised exceedingly the tale of the crayfish. And that in turn reminded me of another, of Aksakoff, and of sunlit days on the Moscow River, and of fishing of the kind Aksakoff loved. Aksakoff is full of praise of the crayfish as a bait for chub, and some of his equally rapacious cousins. The old man went on to tell me a strange thing. With the tail of a crayfish, he said, he could catch great quantities of chub. But when he could not get that bait, and bought prawns, or dug lobworms, or shaped lumps of paste, or sank his hook in a cherry, he could catch him never a chub. Though with these baits other men were successful, who could do nothing with his crayfish. And here, today, on the swale, a handsome chub is offered and takes an ordinary wet worm.
Good-sized chub.
Aksakoff, Chubber Childs, old chub hunters, my old friend by the Thames.
Go on. Go on, then. And all the time he spoke of the chub, there was a warm glow in his words. The sort of glow that is in the words of some men when they speak of salmon. The sort of passion that I felt in The Bear Hunter, describing the tracking of a bear. And here in the north was this grayling fisher talking of the hooking of that chub with as much contempt as if he got hold of an old bucket.